Okay, good evening, everybody. It is October 13th, and this is the meeting of the Master Plan Implementation Committee. And the meeting is called to order at 7:05. And tonight we have present members of the committee itself: Cindy Palmer, Brittany Taylor, Sierra Simmons sitting in for Jim Sini of the Housing Committee. Thank you very much. Francine is off at a school board meeting, and Christina Madsen should be joining us. So thanks everybody for managing. I know everybody's been scrambling with lots of different meetings tonight. For whatever reason, when I looked at the calendar, there were like 6 meetings, organized for tonight, and they weren't there, I swear, when I scheduled this one, but I guess I just picked the wrong day. But anyway, we have, it's been a while since we have gotten together. It's actually been about 6 months. So it was time to have a meeting. So what I want to do, I don't think it'll be a terribly long meeting, but I don't see anybody as open time for the public, and we have no old business per se, but we do have some minutes to approve. So I'm gonna see if I can share my screen on that and put up the minutes for those who can see. See if I can actually scroll. This would be another story here. Hold on. Come on. Okay, good. So I don't know, Brittany, if you've had a chance to take a look at it. Thanks, Cindy, for sending this around. I think I saw just 2 small things, and I wish I had marked them now that I said that. Hold on just a second. Okay, so there was one thing. Well, one was just actually down here under my own thing. CF proceeded with a high-level review through the full chapters, so some extra word in there somewhere. Just a minor thing.
Okay, so that's just a
Yeah,
kind of a grammar thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I'm thinking there was one more small thing. Hang on, can't remember where it was. Goal strategy, not there, not there, not there. Nope. Okay. Oh, every home greater than 100 years of age. That's all. S on years. Right up in here.
An S.
That's all.
Okay.
So that was, there comes Christina.
Okay, got it. Fix that.
Double.
Okay.
All right. Hey, Chris. Chris Madsen, you're there? All right. Well, I'll tell you what, I think we've gone through that. If nobody else saw anything else, I'll take a motion to approve these minutes from April 26th with these minor corrections.
I can make that motion.
All right. Christina's still connecting here. Brittany, would you like to second that?
Yeah, sure. I'll second that.
All right, good. We won't put Sierra on the spot. Great. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Palmer.
Okay.
Taylor, aye.
Fowles, aye.
I guess.
Yes.
Madsen, aye.
Great. Hi, Christina. Thank
Aye.
you. Sorry, everybody's hopping around to different meetings tonight. It's been one of those nights, but thanks for joining in here. So basically, that was just the minutes from that last April meeting, Christina. A couple minor typos, that's all. So those have been approved, and we really don't have any old business per se. but we do have a couple of new business items that hopefully won't take us too terribly long. When we met last time, we had the final draft pretty much of the master plan update itself, the report itself, and we had made some changes in our meeting, and then delegated to me to make the actual changes in the hard copy, send those back to Ken Comia for his quick look, and then just saying it's final. So that all happened, and that is up on the town website. If people didn't find it, it's actually on the master plan page on the town website. So that is there. And I guess two things I wanted to do was to get a sense of how much any of you have been able to take back to your respective committees, given that everybody here represents some other committee or board, anything that was sort of in your bailiwick, and have any discussion about that. And I just wanted to start with that. So I don't know, maybe Cindy, have you had a chance, like with planning board, to sort of give them, I know planning board is oftentimes listed as one of the action entities behind a lot of these strategies for the master plan. They're involved in many things along with select board, but if you have any thoughts
Yes.
in terms of general reaction and anything you might be working on that's related to something from the master plan update.
Okay. Yes, I do. And yes, I did bring it back. I brought it back on a sort of broad scale, not on a specific do this, do this, do this.
Yep.
Here's what some of you might be aware of for planning board. Planning board has been in the midst of a zoning bylaw review process for greater than 3 years, maybe 4 years. The whole time I've been on the planning board, which is greater than 3 years. And we have used a consultant whose name was Larry Smith. He recently, within the last few months, determined that he had to withdraw as our consultant for a variety of reasons. He helped locate another person who was most recently employed by the city of South Hadley, town of South Hadley, as their planner. And his name is Richard Harris. He is newly been, a contract has been signed by the planning board to have him be our consultant.
Okay.
Now, when that all came about in the conversation, I made the point at the planning board about our, wanted to be sure he had developed some familiarity with our master plan and the update, as well as with our open space and recreation plan and other important documents in the town, because planning board is designated in a number of those areas and priorities. He has a professional relationship with Ken Comia from PVPC. So he in fact was scheduled to meet with Ken, maybe anyway, or for another reason, I don't know. But he came back and told us he had an extensive meeting with Ken. Thus,
Well,
he is, I know. So he has become familiar with what we have as, designated for the planning board. He's only just starting with us, but I think his intent is to help integrate some of these important priorities that we have within the zoning bylaw changes. And that's, I don't know that we're going to get a whole lot further immediately with the planning board, because this whole process of the zoning bylaw review has been so demanding in and around our usual business. And nobody wants to take on a project that time-wise precedes this zoning bylaw review. So the best we can do is to attempt to integrate in bylaw changes things that are already designated within either the master plan or the open space and recreation plan. That's my report. I do feel pretty good about this. I really do, because he seems eager to not, have us go through this whole zoning bylaw review, only to then go back and go, well, gee, why are we doing this when in fact our master plan says let's move on this? You see what I'm saying? So we're not ignoring these other things. We're integrating.
That's a great report on that. That's good news. I think there's been also, obviously, there's some overlap between the master plan and the open space plan too. So, you don't need to, treat everything two different times. I mean, obviously, the more it can be kind of woven in together. That makes sense, and it satisfies a whole lot of purposes all at once. So just offhand, maybe in the last 6 months since we've been meeting, or haven't met rather, has there been a one or two zoning bylaws in particular that you've been working on?
No.
No. Okay.
The
Okay.
reason is this whole consultant transition thing.
Okay.
And also the planning board doesn't meet except once a month in the summer unless there's really something. I mean, we've had several meetings actually canceled
Okay.
for quote
Okay.
lack of an agenda. So no, it has not moved forward. And Larry, we actually had health problems, so he couldn't help us. So until we
Gotcha.
got this brand new consultant, that's what's going on.
Okay. No,
But you
that's-
did hear at the select board meeting last night, Chris, that this consultant made a point of saying some of the things that have fallen in zoning should actually go into general bylaws because of the fact that zoning bylaws don't apply to certain nonprofits, et cetera. So if they're under general bylaws, those entities have to follow the bylaws. But if it's in zoning, it doesn't apply to them. That was his explanation. So I think you're going to hear more about that in the general bylaws.
Great. That would be interesting to know, what kinds of things he's thinking about that would maybe be better placed in general bylaws too. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and
good.
we did make the point of orienting him to the fact that general bylaw review has been going on for quite a long time as well, and
Yep.
Everyone wants to see these things done and done with the correct process and not
Sure.
take another generation to complete them.
Oh, I
So,
know. We're being on the bylaw committee. That's a challenge as well. But just to add to that, maybe a piece of information you can take back to, in case he's not aware of that. We signed up for and got approved through the last town meeting, this E360. Basically it's a codified computer programming scenario to put all of our both our general bylaws and the zoning bylaws together in a more structured, easy to find, better user-friendly, I guess, mode, better than they are now. Let's put it that way. And so that's a process that we'll be engaging in. It's probably not going to start for another 6 months or so, and that's eventually, as all these bylaws that we have on the books already for the general bylaws have passed, they're going to be moved in, and sort of many of them will probably end up being renumbered. We have bylaws that are just kind of scattered all over the place, and it doesn't make sense to go from bylaw number 5 to bylaw 35 when you're kind of talking some similar topics. So this will regroup them into kind of an administrative bylaw section, and I forget how they called the other one, but there's like 2 or 3 main categories, I guess I would say, of bylaws that they would try to reorganize. So it's not going to be rewriting the bylaws, but it's just going to be restructuring them to this program, which I think will be good. So we've bought into it, and that will help eventually.
I was sort of peripherally aware of this. Do you happen, Chris, to have any kind of explanation that can be emailed to me?
Yeah, I do.
Or a website that we can point him to? He may be familiar with it too.
He probably does.
So,
a lot of towns use it, so he may very well. And in fact, South Hadley may even use it too, as a matter of fact. So I bet he does. But yes, I will send you what I have. So that would be good. Okay,
that
great.
would be great.
Yep,
That's
good.
To me, it's so exciting to see this sort of coordinated approach versus piecemeal and missed things and parallel process and the whole thing. So good.
Correct.
Good.
Yeah. Okay,
Thanks
that
for
sounds
that.
great. Good. Okay. Well, thank you. All right. I'll just go around the horn. How about Sierra? I know housing has been very busy. So why don't you fill us in? I know you guys are working on your housing production plan with Ken Camilla again. He's going to get sick of Southampton pretty soon, but
Supposedly he talks about how much he loves us because the community really participates a lot. I think when the community survey got such a good result, that just like locked him in for life.
Yeah,
he loves us.
I think it blew him away actually that we had so many responses. Yeah.
So yeah, Jim shared the I guess it was the draft of the report with the rest of the committee. And a lot of the things on the master plan really coincide or align with what we're going to be doing in our housing production plan. So all of the things that were mentioned like looking into bylaws and or like the inclusionary zoning bylaw, looking into overlay districts, looking at underutilized properties. I'm trying to remember what else on the master plan list. I don't have it off the top of my head right now, but we share that with Ken. He knows that's like aligning our housing production plan with the master plan is really important. And there's a lot of things that are sort of going to be still on it from last time that haven't been done yet. But hopefully we're going to do them this time around.
Good. Yeah. No, that's good. And I think some of the ones, in fact, it may be the housing production plan itself. There's some of them that are on the medium to long-term goals. If you remember, having looked at the report, perhaps that the update report, that first main body of the report is really focusing on the short-term goals that are still somewhat achievable within the next 5 years or so. And then the mid to long-term goals, we put in kind of the appendix part of the report. But I think there's nothing wrong with jumping into there and pulling out something to work on too. And I think that's, if I'm not mistaken, that's where the HPP sat actually. So, but it's great to be able to have a grant and start working on that. And I think that's fantastic that's moving along. So how often are you meeting on that process?
Well, we're meeting about monthly, but it ends up being sort of like 2 times a month because we have our regular housing committee, housing authority meeting once a month. And then like alternately, we also have the housing production plan working group meetings.
Great.
Another thing I wanted to mention is creation of a housing trust. I think that was sort of a mid to long-term goal on the master plan.
That might be
sort of coming next after the housing production plan. I really want to push for that being the next thing because that's like a major thing that'll help us reach the rest of our goals. So
yeah.
What trust is that?
Go ahead, Christina. Sorry.
What trust is that? Could you say that again? I didn't quite pick it up.
An affordable housing trust. So it's a special kind of entity. It's sort of like an account that's managed by a board, and it's able to act independent of community meetings. So for example, one of our big roadblocks in the housing authority is like a nice piece of land comes up, we could buy it and use it for affordable housing development. But before we can get the money from CPA approved by a town meeting, someone's already bought the property. So this gives us sort of like makes us more nimble and able to like act quickly. And it also, there's like more ways to gain funds. Once you have a housing trust, it's easier to get more money for the trust. So it should be a huge game changer for us, but it takes, it's a volunteer board. It's something that like, I think the planning board, can't remember the planning or select board that has to sort of spearhead the creation of it. So.
I think it's select board that has to spearhead it. And again, tied to the housing production plan or shortly thereafter. So yeah, and I think we had just a brief intro to it, but that is exactly the problem. We've seen properties come up that might be, good possibilities at least to look at and not terribly expensive. There was that one on East Street, that little one that Evelyn Gunn's old house, Christina, that is now being renovated. I saw somebody putting a new roof on it the other day. That little one right near the park. And I don't know who bought it, but I'm sure it didn't go for very much, but so this would be a great idea to be able to have a trust so that we've got funds available to be able to act quickly. I mean, we just have no mechanism in town to be able to react to any kind of property that's coming up that could be maybe used for affordable housing. So that's great. I'm glad that's.
Is it funded? Is the trust funded solely by private donations?
No. So I think we can put any CPA funds that are designated to housing can go in there.
Oh.
And you can also, for example, if someone, so we have the inclusionary zoning law that says if you create 10 units, one of them has to be affordable. But you have the option, if you don't want to do that, you can just pay a sum that's like, calculated based on how much that unit would be worth. That sum would go into the housing trust. There's also all sorts of creative ways you can raise money for it. Like you could do like cannabis taxes. There's this whole list. I have this nice like outline document. There's this whole list of like ways to get like different money that can go into it and ways to add money to it. And then there's also, government grants that the money could go into the trust and then we could be able to spend it later. So it'd be nice if we get some private donations, but I think it's mostly going to be public funds.
Thank you.
Yeah. Great.
So specific to Christina's question though, will this become a 501c3 organization for someone who might want to make a donation and want it to be tax deductible? You know?
Don't think it's a 501c3, but I'm not 100% sure. I can find out.
Yeah.
It might be tax deductible as a different kind, like as a public government entity as opposed to a nonprofit, but
Okay, well,
Sure.
it just might be something to consider.
yeah, I'll look into that.
And
Mhm.
the other point I want to make, your HPP representative from the select board, Sarah Stein,
Mhm.
she just did an email to the planning board, and I didn't mean to say select board, it's planning board,
Mhm.
requesting that when we review the inclusionary bylaw, that be a joint meeting with housing.
Okay.
That's awesome. Yes, we were
Nice.
talking about that at our last meeting, and
Yeah.
I sent her a whole like write up about it. I don't know if the changes we're thinking about are too big for this sort of bylaw revision, but definitely worth discussion.
I
Great.
think that's fabulous. I definitely think so. And, you know, it's on the radar anyway of our chairperson, but it may be a while before we get there unless we push it. So maybe she needs to raise it. The next time that we have this consultant coming is not our next coming bylaw, excuse me, our next planning board meeting, which is next Wednesday. It would be the first Wednesday in November, because
Okay.
the consultant had some personal reason why he couldn't meet this planning board meets every other Wednesday, first and third Wednesdays of the month, first and third Wednesdays every month, except for the summer when we meet once a month. So you can keep that in your mind.
Okay, cool.
And
Thank you.
I'm excited. This guy's really energetic to get it going. So I don't think we should, we should dawdle on this idea of having the
Yeah.
inclusionary bylaw be looked at pretty soon.
Alright.
So
Mhm.
Great.
Awesome.
I think this is women power here. I think, that's great. No, that's wonderful to see this movement. Wonderful. Great. Okay. All right. Brittany, I don't know that we had a whole lot for Concom, but has there been any discussion at all, or is there anything that needs our attention, maybe at master plan? I know we've dealt with more just the wetlands bylaw issue, but nothing more specific that I'm aware of.
No, I mean, just the usual. At some point, we highly desire a conservation agent, but that's just,
Yeah.
that's always gonna be the case.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And I think too, with the, like on the, and it may be, I don't know if it's more in the open space plan, Cindy, is there more things allocated to conservation maybe than there was in the master plan? I don't know. Concom came up as, in a few areas in terms of our overall development, but not as prominent maybe as it might have.
yeah, I think that was in the minutes that, and I don't have them right in front of me right now. Sorry, I can look at them, but
Yeah.
I think that Open Space Committee could be designated for some of the specific goals that were listed in the master plan. So I'm sorry, I don't have them right in front of me right now, but
Yeah.
we are attempting to really work closely with the Conservation Commission on a lot of stuff. And so I see a colleagueship really developing with between Open Space and more so. It's been a colleagueship right along, but just keep working together
Yeah.
on it. I can't be any more specific than that right now.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Great. Okay. And then Christina, having just come from a historical commission meeting, anything related to master plan that has been brought up at your meetings yet?
Well, this was the first meeting we've had since early June.
Mhm.
So no, nothing really. And Bob was trying to make it short this evening on my behalf. We have it in hand, and I trust that our meetings will pick up again as the fall season progresses. And at our next meeting, I'll make sure that we get moving on it, get at least reviewing it.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm sorry to say that because we haven't met, I have nothing to report.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine. And I think, maybe the easiest thing to do, I don't know, would be to just take that, that 1 or 2 pages out of our update plan related to historical and just circulate that to the members, before the next meeting or something. If
Well,
that
yes,
hasn't been.
already done.
Okay, good. All right. So just in case there's something there, but yeah, and of course you could always borrow Housing's idea of just jumping right to the appendix and taking the hardest one first too, right? But I think honestly, the lion's share does fall between planning and housing. There's a ton of stuff that's been,
Yeah.
you know, in that bailiwick. So great. Well, that's good though. At least, I mean, I think what I'm glad to see, it's been kind of 6 months since we've met. You know, we had a whole lot of energy and a lot of involvement last year, spent the bulk of the year doing all the preparation for the community survey and then, you know, tallying the survey and figuring all that stuff out. So we had a lot of momentum going back then, and it's great to see that there is a level of momentum coming off that report. It's not going to sit on a shelf as far as I'm concerned. You know, people are picking it up. Select boards mentioned it more than once of, well, the master plan said, you know, so it's in people's minds at least. And I think it bodes well for some future action that, you know, maybe won't be, you know, years and years to come. So I think that's a good thing. If we can keep the momentum going and the excitement going about it, I think that's a good step in its own right. So
I can say regarding historical is that I'll make mention that one of the goals is to try to figure out what's going on with the old town hall, and we do have that working group. So that's an active process.
Right. Very good. Yep.
Toward achieving one of those goals.
Yep. Okay. Sounds good. Okay, well, that's great for the updates. And the part of the reason that I wanted to hear some of that too is that you probably have heard through your various other committees that you're on. From the select board point of view, we decided to set up a sort of a, I guess I would say 6 monthly kind of report out. It's not exactly a quarterly reporting system, but because there's so many committees and boards and department heads to do that. But we wanted to have every meeting to start the meeting off basically with a half an hour or so of report outs from various committees and boards and departments. And we've started that and done the first couple so far. And the October 26th meeting actually is going to be actually including plan, housing, zoning, and master plan. So part of this, in my view, was to have also something to say about master plan, what we're doing here. And I think our role right now is basically, you know, just to be supportive, you know, if the various committees that you represent have questions, you know, to come back to master plan and, you know, we can hash out issues and questions and clarify things in terms of, you know, whatever we were thinking at the time. But it's one of those roles that we're still, I think, not, well, we kind of have defined ourselves, but we're not intending to be the policeman to make sure that this thing, you know, really gets going. But we do want to keep on the gentle nudging, I guess I would say, of making sure that actions, you know, do take place, that committees are taking it seriously and are trying to do something with it, you know, at whatever pace, is still sitting, you know, certainly better than sitting on a shelf and gathering dust. So I think that from the sounds of it already, that is starting to work. And so master plan will have a brief few minutes at the next select board meeting. And then I think we're paired up again with later on in maybe February, March, maybe March with, I want to say it's going to be historical and somebody else. I can't remember who else is going to be there, probably Concom. And maybe open space and historical or something like that. So anyway, we get to sort of report out, quote unquote, twice a year. And the basic rationale behind this, I mean, people say, well, you know, many of our committees have got liaisons from the select board member goes for the most part, and then comes back and reports out, which is true, but all that we get really is that sort of synopsis of what's going on. It's, you know, the event of the day or the last month or two of, you know, what's been happening on sort of routine business, but it doesn't give us really the kind of the full perspective and from the committee itself to understand some of the issues that they may have, some of the problems they're encountering, things that the select board can do to help support their work. So that was part of the intent of organizing these report outs. And so not just with the committees and commissions, but we've got them with the, you know, the police and the fire and highway department and the treasurer and all of those folks will have a chance to come before the select board and give their sort of overview of what's happening and, you know, what they're running into for a buzzsaw and what might need to be put in place to help them do things better. So I just wanted to get a sense of that. I haven't really figured out how much select board will really, how much master plan should need to report, because we are paired up exactly with housing and planning that night and zoning. And I assume that a large part of what you've said here tonight is going to be part of that report out. So I may have to sort of think a little bit about what else I could add to it. If anybody has some ideas, I'd be willing to hear that. It's going to be like a 5-minute, presentation at most. So it may just be, kind of reminding people about the report itself and just saying that, our committees have all gone back to their respective, our members have gone back to their respective committees and made it known in terms of, the different areas where their committee has been mentioned as an actor, and just trying to keep that momentum going. But I think most of you guys would actually take up, the report out more so than master plan, but master plan needed to kind of be involved just because we're kind of attached at the hip here, I think. So I don't know that I have a whole lot to actually report on, what I would say yet. I was hoping I'd get inspired by tonight, and I am. So if people are willing and let me sort of draft something, I would be glad to just send it around without having a meeting. Maybe just send it around and people could just comment back to me, because we do need to usually put in a written report to Ed the week before the meeting. So on the Tuesday, the 26th meeting, he would like any written materials the Wednesday before, so that then it gets distributed to select board members by that Friday. And we have a chance to look at anything over the weekend. So I'll do my best to put a few thoughts together. And I think what I would recommend is just sending it around to everybody and asking for any comments about what that would look like. Does that sound okay to everybody?
Yeah, the Wednesday before is next Wednesday, Chris, right?
I know. I know.
That sounds really good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see the need for us to have a meeting on it. I just think, I just wanted, because we hadn't met so long, I didn't want to just do that without, having us at least have our heads together here on where things have been going over the last few months. So this is good. But any ideas, suggestions? Is there something we should feature again to remind select board about master plan? And we know, for example, I guess I am too. I'm the liaison to the Greenway Committee. So they too have, they're starting to take off again. Obviously, you may have heard through the grants committee that we've got going. We've gotten $200,000 of grant money toward the acquisition of the right of way for the Greenway. And I think what's going to be happening, it'll be at the last town meeting in June. We had put forth also a debt exclusion for the additional money we need to acquire the Greenway. And that's $270,000 more. So that was all of the cost in terms of what we needed to pay the railroad to get our hands on the actual right of way itself before we can even think about any design or construction. So that was going to end up being a debt to the town, to the taxpayers, and that did get approved at town meeting. But that was before the whole notion of rail banking got changed around with the state and the Community Preservation Committee. So we learned a couple months ago now that the community preservation funds now can be used to help with the rail banking issue in terms of our situation of acquiring the right of way. Before it was not allowed, because technically with the rail banking process, the railroad has a reversionary right to come back and say, oh, gee, well, we'd like to start the railroad again, 50 years from now, which I can't imagine ever happening, but technically that's how this transfer of the right of way would happen to the town. And so that precluded community preservation monies from the state to be allocated to that. That whole got changed in the legislature. It had been sitting in the legislature for a couple of years. and finally did get turned around, so that money can now be used. So just to give you an update, Ed went to the Community Preservation Committee meeting the other night, and what the proposition is, if CPC will abide by it, is that we take instead the 270,000 from CPC money, probably the undesignated fund, and 100,000 of that would be added, no, 170,000 of that would be added to the 200,000 we already have in grant money. And that should be enough to honor the MOU with the railroad to get the right of way. And then the other 100,000 would be to use to start design work for the rail trail itself. If CPC approves that and we get it on the town warrant and it gets approved at town meeting, then that means we would go back at a later town meeting and say, we want to take back, we want to rescind the notion of this being a debt exclusion thing, and that would take it off so that it would not be something we have to go out and borrow money for. And so that's kind of the strategy we're using. We are looking at having a special town meeting in early December. Right now, we're sort of looking at December 14th. That's what we're aiming for. First choice at Norris, second choice at Hampshire Regional. So that's what we were talking about at our recent select board meeting. And so that all just ties into the Greenway. And that too was out of the community survey. As you know, that came out as like a #1 priority. So that has definitely taken on a life of its own, which is great. And then probably the next thing that's starting to move a little bit, Reading Groden has been instrumental in kind of nudging the former members of the public safety complex to get together again. And so they will be having a first meeting in quite a long time on October 25th, I believe it is. And Rini is our representative from the select board to that committee. So they've got, they'll be starting again, and that, that was another priority on the master plan survey. So all said and done, we've got lots of irons in the fire here, and I think the master plan survey really has kind of jump started quite a few things, and that's good. So I think we should all be very proud of all the work that went into that craziness all last year. It was tedious at times, but I think it's going to pay off. Yeah, Cindy.
A couple things. First of all, I think it was passed at CPC.
Okay, maybe it did. I didn't know if they took a vote already.
I think it was too.
Okay. Okay. I wasn't sure if they took a vote that last night or whatever night they met. Okay. Good.
Did you say something, Christina?
I agreed with you, Cindy. Bob Kuza just reported at Historical Commission that I understood that it had passed.
Okay, great.
That is correct. That is good. Thanks, Bob. And thanks, Christina, too.
Yeah.
And the other thing is the other very high priority that we identified in the master plan was to get the why am I blocking? The broadband.
Broadband, right.
Yeah, so is there anything that you can report on that?
A little bit. As you know, we have another yet ad hoc committee. I think I'm going to be known for creating ad hoc committees in town, but anyway, this is like the third one now. But the ad hoc grant committee and the ad hoc tech committee. So the tech folks have been working most recently on a project for cybersecurity at town hall. But they have had some notions about the broadband issue. They haven't delved into it a lot yet, but one of the things that we have with this American Rescue Plan money that's coming to the town, we have right now close to, I'm believing it's between $500,000 and $600,000 allocated to the town for this coming year, and then a total over 2 years, I believe, is 1.8 million. And this is the American Rescue Plan money that is a 2-year money, but can be spent out over 4 years. The details about how to use it have been a little bit funny. It's tied in to certain things somewhat related to COVID still. Like other money for housing, for example. I know that housing trust money we put out, not housing trust, but the money we put out for rental assistance, Sarah, I think, right, through the CARES Act money. That would be able, I think, to be continued maybe some support of the community cupboard kinds of stuff, food for people having trouble in issues. I think that could be covered, but infrastructure is a piece of that. And this is not still the big infrastructure plan that's still being debated in Congress. This is, separately the American Rescue Plan called ARPA. And the 2 or 3 things that we've heard that can be looked at there through that is sewer and water and broadband. Those are probably the 3 big infrastructure things that we keep getting told, but not a whole lot of detail on how to get it spent. So we talked last night about possibly sending out, doing some other little survey, like a Survey Monkey kind of thing online, to just get residents' ideas on how that money might be used. Other towns are doing that. Northampton sent out a survey, I know, but they're getting like, $20 million. So they definitely want, a whole lot more input, and they've got many more choices to make. But, for us, it's sometimes even spending, 500,000 is a challenge too, to do it correctly. That could, tie into, again, a few other things related to outcomes of the master plan. I don't know about infrastructure per se in terms of buildings, but at least sewer, water, broadband have all been talked about, and those are areas that we're going to definitely look into. We're actually trying to get some communication back from Charter to give us sort of kind of a mapping of where our broadband is extremely weak in town, to get a better sense of the coverage in town and where there might be areas geographically that we could start focusing on with improved access. So that's something that's in the hopper, not terribly well developed yet, but being talked about. Yeah. Okay.
That's fantastic, Chris. Chris, this is wonderful.
Yeah, lots of
So
things
much is happening.
I mean, believe me, things are not sitting still. Things are moving. It's like, trying to keep ahead of the train, or we'll get run over. I don't know which, but it feels like that. Brittany, anything?
No, that all sounds really good. No, I think that sounds great.
Good. All right. Well, we will keep on chugging and, see what we can do. And then obviously, I didn't specifically mention open space, but that's been a continuing, outcome of everything that's been going on with master plan and the open space plan as well. And certainly the work that, you folks have been doing at open space in terms of educating the public about the importance of conserving land and all of that kind of thing. So I think that's, just great too.
Can I give a quick report about a meeting I went to just prior to this one related
Sure.
to open space and land and conservation, and specifically trails. And Brittany, your colleagues, Anna and Megan, were there. Your name was, of course, thrown around, but there's an effort underway to put arms around sort of management about how trails can be maintained on an ongoing basis. And a lot of good ideas came from this kind of brainstorming opportunity. And it sounds like Friends of Southampton Open Space, which is a 501c3, is going to be able to jump in and help on sort of coordinating a lot of this. But we're looking for a lot of town residents, and it might be that some people will say, put me on the team for X property or X property or whatever. And there's some excellent people on Concom right now, including Anna and Brittany, and also this woman, Megan. And Megan is putting together a list of considerations for what you do on a trail and what you do with invasive species. Something I didn't even think about, FYI. If you're on a trail right now and everything which is an invasive species has berries on it, the berries are, seeds, right?
Yeah.
So you're not supposed to just cut them down and leave them there. You're supposed to bag them up and take them to the landfill, or else you're sort of like reseeding the invasive species. Interestingly, common sense should have told us everybody that, but it's not easy. So anyway, good things are coming out of this coordination too.
Glad to
So
hear.
not specifically in the master plan.
We need all the help we can get.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
and you guys, I think through Brittany Goodermuth, had put forth those great posters about invasive species and what to look for, which ones are invasive that we would like, cut down. And then in addition to Megan too, just to say, because there's a new member, Jake, I believe his name is, just
Yes.
joined in recently, and he's also got some incredible, good background too. So we've got some, good new folks that are joining in our committees, and that's great. So that's good. So with us, we have one more. Francine is not here tonight, so we are actually 6 people out of 10. We technically do have 10 people on our committee, but we have a lot of empty slots, and we've been very hesitant to recruit or actively recruit. We need somebody technically from Parks. We had Margaret Larson from the school, but I believe she was more an at-large member, if I'm not mistaken on that. I think we have 3 at-large members and then 1 from Parks that are vacant technically. Well, or at least 2 of them are vacant. I don't know what I am. I'm either select board or at-large. I'm not sure. But anyway, so we've got 4 open slots. Let's put it that way. Anybody thinking that we want to kind of fill out that committee? Any first thoughts from the folks that have been with us for a while here? Are we?
I have
Yeah.
a question.
Yeah.
What would be the role of at-large members at
Well,
this point
yeah.
in the current state of the master plan implementation committee? I mean, really, it seems to me as though, as you've laid it out, we
Mhm.
as representatives are just going to keep tabs on our committees. So
Mhm.
I'm not sure what an at-large member
Yeah, I would tend
member's
to.
role would be.
Yeah, I would tend to agree that when I came on, I was an at-large member, and then between Francine and I, we've kind of juggled back and forth between who's at-large and who's the select board member. I would tend to agree the advantage would be just to have other people from town who have not been involved and are not knowing much about any of the work that has been done to be more informed, so the word could spread to others. And get the right information out there, but it's not like there would be a major role I foresee at the moment. I'm not also thinking that. It would be nice to round ourselves out maybe with somebody from Parks. But other than that, I don't necessarily see a big role. There is in that, because of the broadband, and there was the idea about maybe some solar energy as a priority that came out on the survey. I don't know if maybe, somebody from the public that had that kind of background or interest could join us. But again, I guess there used to be an energy committee in town, but that certainly died on the vine. And then the tech committee is focusing on town hall right now, but they would be some of the logical ones to at least talk a little bit more about the bigger broadband issue in town. So I don't know. I don't know that I see a real major role by any means for people that are not already affiliated with committees. But Cindy, yeah.
Yeah, I have a thought. One is, I would suggest we don't try to fill out the committee now.
Mhm.
Let's let a couple more months pass, or,
Mhm.
let's meet again.
Mhm.
I don't know that we need to meet monthly anymore, but, maybe in a
No.
few more months.
Yeah.
And then talk about where there's a hole. Because, what you've been reporting on, and what we've all been reporting, is what's gone on. Here we are, really only in the autumn. We've lived through this COVID thing. It's not over yet.
Right.
And yet there's a lot of initiative that's already been taking place.
Mhm.
If we discover that we need somebody with, either
Mhm.
a knowledge about broadband or a knowledge about solar energy or something, then we go out after those people.
Yeah.
The only other thing I would say is that this is a great committee. I mean, meaning it's energized, it's well run, etc. Thank you, Chris.
Mm.
But it's a good place for new people to kind of get energized about the town in general.
Yeah.
So, I'm wondering if we can keep that in the back of our minds. Somebody who, maybe would be, eventually running for another board or committee, and we'd like to see them get involved in our town. So those are just my thoughts.
Okay. Good point. Good point. Okay. All right. And we can certainly reach out to Parks and see if they have anybody that they would like to, recommend, just because we've got that space that is a dedicated space for the Parks Commission. I know they're kind of thin sometimes too, but I think they've gathered a couple of new members as well. So, good. All right. Well, I don't have any other particular issues. If anybody has anything else, I guess I would just, if you're okay with it, I will draft up something for our report out to select board and just email it around and just ask for comments back to me so that we're not in a quorum situation. And I will try to do that over the next few days and get it to you, probably early next week. Okay.
Okay,
Sounds good. Okay. If there's nothing else, any
well,
final comments, issues? Yeah.
do we need to schedule another meeting or shall we just wait?
I think I'd rather wait. I mean, we went maybe a little bit longer than we needed to this time because of summer and whatever else and people's availability, but I'm kind of thinking maybe quarterly meetings at the most. I mean, I think we need to have a modicum of a number of meetings to be viable, but I don't think there's any real reason to meet even monthly at this point in time. I mean, we did a lot of heavy lifting, practically weekly, bi-weekly for months. And I think, this is the time to sort of, like I say, kind of be a little bit behind the scenes and keep the gentle nudging going on to the various committees. So I would say sometime, I don't know, maybe February or something like that, we might try to get together and just see where things are then, would be my thought. Okay,
Great. Then
All
I move
right.
to adjourn.
perfect. Could I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor, roll call, please.
Taylor, aye.
Aye.
Palmer, yes.
This is Sarah.
Simmons, aye.
All right, Fowles eye. All right, we will consider ourselves adjourned at 7:56. And thanks everybody for joining in tonight. I appreciate it. And everybody juggling schedules and multiple meetings. So thanks very much.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
your-
All right.
Bye.
Take
Thank
care,
you.
everybody. Bye-bye.